What's going on, everybody? If you're watching this video, then congratulations. You passed your night's check ride. You're moving on to the final phase of BWS and Common Core as a whole. BWS Phase 3. Now, this was my favorite phase. It was where I had the most fun at, was the final phase of BWS, Phase 3. So congrats. If you are a flight school student on hold, or you're just interested in flight school and you're not currently going through the pipeline right now, that's great that you're watching this video, guys. I just urge you to go back to my very first video and watch them all, because this is one video of an entire series I'm doing on flight school. So watch them all in order. That way you're all caught up to this point so you understand everything that's going on. If you've already watched those videos, then stay tuned. I'm going to talk about BWS Part 3. So, this phase is geared towards mission planning. So, everything in this phase is oriented to mission planning, and BWS as a whole is kind of geared towards mission planning, but it's kind of like the crawl, walk, run. In this phase, it's the run. You're putting every single thing together, and you're going out. Your IP is giving you missions to plan the night before. You're going to go home, mastermind them, plan them all out, and then you're going to come to flight line with your knee board packet or mission packet, and you're going to fly the mission you planned that night. In this phase, you'll fly right at 11 hours in the aircraft, no sim time. And that will close out your BWS, so 11 hours just in Phase 3. Academics, I only recall there being like 1 day of academics. That could change when you go through, but I only recall 1 day and there being a test right after. The test is super easy. It's on Army organization stuff. So, for example, and it's geared towards aviation. So, for an example, things on the test will be like, what does a air assault commander do, or what does the aviation task force commander do? Those types of questions you'll get on this test. Very simple test and only a day of class. So again, it's a really fun part of flight school because you are just flying. There's not a whole lot of academics involved. Now, again, like I said, this phase was my funnest phase. We had a lot of fun. It could have been because I had a really cool IP. My IP was a CW3 former maintenance test pilot. I say former because he got out and went on the civilian side to fly for the airlines for a little bit. He came back in on the guard side, and then he's now an IP. So he was a maintenance test pilot before active duty. And then even before he was a maintenance test pilot, he was a Green Beret. So this guy was full of knowledge, really cool, super chill, super laid back dude. And I really enjoyed flying with him because he really let us fly the freaking rotor off this freaking UH-72 in this last phase. I mean, it was like a free-for-all. A lot of the days we'd go out and fly our mission, and then after we completed our mission, we would just go out there and do what I like to call freestyle, meaning like just do whatever you want with the helicopter. It was pretty cool. So, a typical day, just like I always do, guys, I'm going to go explain a typical day in Phase 3. So, you'll get your mission the day prior to executing the mission. So, you go out, you fly, and then you get back and your IP's like, okay, this is the mission I want you to plan tonight. And he'll be like, okay, so I want you to go recon this bridge at grid coordinates. Give you a grid coordinates. After you recon this bridge, you're going to route recon up to this grid coordinate, and then at this grid coordinate, there's been some suspected enemy in the area that you may have to do masking and unmasking and do a call for fire mission. And after that, at this grid coordinates, there may be a downed aircraft. You may have to call in a fallen angel report and then a 9-line, and that'll be your mission for the day. Or a mission could be like, hey, you're taking these troops to this location, and then you gotta follow. It could be anything, but what I just spelled out is basically what it's going to sound like. So you go home, you plan out your mission using Falcon View, ForeFlight, whatever you want, and you're going to compile this kneeboard packet. This kneeboard packet is going to have all kind of stuff in it. It's going to have your commo plan on like your presets for, okay, this is my preset for every single radio for whenever I leave out of shell. And then when we get to this checkpoint, these are going to be my presets. When we get to this checkpoint, this is going to be my preset. So it's very organized. That'll be in your kneeboard packet. The other thing will be in your kneeboard packet is maybe like what you're doing for like your mission statement and stuff. And then another thing that will be in your kneeboard packet is like maybe strip maps of the area you're reconning or the route you're reconning, a picture of the bridge you're reconning. Other things that you would put in there is NIAs, which are like areas of interest that the commander wants you to recon. A big thing in BWS is like they like to use like cemeteries for you to fly over and like pretend like you're taking down information from there. So you'd have snapshot satellite images of there, like, oh, there's an NAI or there's an NIA at this location we're going to recon. And then you would compile all of those things in your kneeboard packet so when you're flying you can reference them. And then at the table talk, before you even go to the aircraft, he's going to inspect those your kneeboard packet to make sure you went home and you did your homework the night before. Once you do that, you're then going to go to flight line, of course, do daily questions, do all that. Table talk, do the kneeboard inspection, and then he's going to be like, okay, let's go fly. So you go out just like any other day, fly out a shell, and then you'll go to your bridge. And when you're doing these, and I'm not going to get into exactly how you do a bridge recon or a route recon or an area. This isn't me being an IP or anything. I'm just prepping you guys to know what's going to happen in BWS. So there is a specific like acronym and things you're looking for that you're going to learn in BWS for when you're doing a bridge recon or a route recon or an area recon or an LZ recon. There's acronyms that you're going to do and fill out as you're flying. So like when you fly over, you'll transfer the controls and fill that out, and then you'll take over the controls and go to your next location. And you get these missions done so you'll take off from shell and you'll fly, and you get these missions done pretty quick. You'll probably get them done in the first like 30 minutes, and then you probably got another 30 more minutes. And if you're lucky and you have an IP like I had, he'll be like, all right, man, we're in an NOE box, do whatever you want to do. And you'll be like, all right, well, I'm going to go chase this river. And I'll be like, okay, cool, I'm good with that. So freaking just hauling ass, chasing this river, low level, nap of the earth flying. And then you could be like, I want to go to that field and I want to practice a cyclic climb. So you just zoom on over to the field, nose down, and then ass cyclic climb. You can do any of that stuff. I mean, you get to really fly in this phase, and you get a lot of leeway, and the IPs in this phase are very hands-off and allow you to just do what you want to do. Oh, another cool thing I left out. So when you're doing your mission, your IPs are going to be like, hey, you're taking fire from that hilltop. And that's your cue for executing an evasive maneuver. So if you're taking, say, fire from 12 o'clock, like, and it's a hilltop, like your evasive maneuver could be like, oh, I'm going to, and you don't say this, you actually do it on the controls, like, cyclic down, nose it forward, and dip down into like a little valley area, and then go around this hill and do masking and unmasking to call for fire on where you just took fire from. That could be one of your evasive maneuvers. Or if you were flying at low level and took an RPG, you could cyclic climb really high because it's just an RPG. They're not actually following your heat signature or anything like that. So you get to really do some cool stuff, and they let you. So another cool thing in this phase that you'll get to do is multi-ship operation. So depending on now, I heard that there was some debate on them taking away multi-ship in BWS, but whenever I went through, we got to do multi-ship. So you did it in the simulator to practice it for just 1 hour, and then you went out the next day and you did the real multi-ship operation. So that's pretty fun. You'll get to do that, hopefully. And then, so I'm going to do check ride story time for the, like I always do with you guys. I always give you guys the check ride story for my BWS Phase 3. So whenever I went through BWS Phase 3, it's kind of a little rough check ride for me. The IP was kind of a douchebag, to be honest with you. Guy had a huge ass beard, really big beard, and just gleaming white teeth. I mean, fluorescent freaking white, like glowing. And I think they glowed even more because he had this big giant black beard. Former 160th guy, and right out of the gate, he was just a tool. Normally when you take a check ride and you do table talk, your IP will be sitting in front of you like your assigned IP, and he'll be like, hey, good luck, guys. You're going to do great. And then he'll get up and he'll leave. Well, your check IP will typically come sit in front of you and say, hey, and he'll introduce himself. This guy introduced himself by saying, wow, you guys are going to actually make me get up and move to you. You guys aren't going to get up and move to me. That's how we're starting this off? All right, I see how you guys want it. That's how he started off the check ride. We would have definitely moved over if he wanted us to, but we stayed seated like we did every single check ride in our Common Core. And then the other, so I had mentioned our assigned IP for this phase was a very laid back dude. He gave us missions to plan the night before, and we would put together our kneeboard packets, but he didn't really like dig into our products very hard. As long as we had like a mission statement, we had satellite images and grid locations of where we wanted to do, what we were going to do, and how we were going to do it, he was completely fine with that. He's like, okay, good. Sounds like you guys have a good plan. Let's go do it. This guy that checked us, no, that's not how he wanted it. He was not laid back, and he was very displeased with the products that we had. I had like a basic 5W mission statement, and I had pictures and satellite images, all printed out and everything, and it was for my kneeboard packet. My stick buddy didn't have anything printed out. He didn't even have a 5W's mission statement or anything. He just had like little satellite images that he had on his iPad. This would have been totally cool if we were flying with our assigned IP, but this guy was like, dude, are you freaking serious? You guys don't have a mission packet that you specially printed out for me? Like, he's like looking at me like, you printed it out for you, that's great, but what about me? And then looked at my stick buddy and was like, You didn't even print shit out, not even for yourself. At least your stick buddy printed something out. So we had to like maneuver through this part of it. Eventually, we brief him on our mission, and he's like, whatever, let's go out and fly, see what you guys can do. So we're already off to a rough start. Get out to the aircraft. Things are starting to go a little better. We're starting to kind of massage the situation with some questions like, oh man, so how's 160th? What'd you do in 160th? Oh, I flew Little Bird gunships. It's not for everyone. You know, typical conversation like that. But it's starting to kind of get it. We're starting to establish a little more rapport with the guy. So, pre-flight the aircraft, get in, I'm sitting down, and we've already started the engines and everything. And I take off my glove because I have, obviously, my iPad on my knee board. My iPad, every good pilot, of course, in the modern day, flies with an iPad. I have it sitting on my knee board. And my iPad always wants to like do facial recognition, but when your visor's down and you got your helmet on and everything, it can't do that. So I do my PIN number. For some reason, on this particular day, it wasn't working. So I removed my flight glove and I put in my PIN number, and I was getting my frequencies to put it into the radio, the Garmin. I was putting my points in the Garmin 430 and to put my freaks into the radio. I don't know. A good like 2 minutes goes by, and he's like, "So you just gonna be in a fucking helicopter without your glove on?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I had my glove on, but I took it off to get some info out of my iPad. I was gonna put it right back on whenever I was done." He's like, all right, cool. So, yeah, I quickly put my glove back on after that, and, yeah, so you see where this is going. It's already not off to a good start. Now, was I wrong about having my glove off in the helicopter? Yeah, but, I mean, dude, I was only going to do it for that moment. It wasn't like I took my gloves off and threw them in the back and said, let's go out and fly. You know what I mean? It was just to get in my iPad real quick. Anyways, of course, he makes a big deal about it. So the other thing was I picked up the helicopter. I was about to taxi us out, and I looked right, and I cleared right, because that's what you do in a helicopter. Pick up, clear right. All right, I'm going right. You don't just go right. And he's like, oh, you're not even going to clear yourself? And I'm like, oh, I did clear myself. And he's like, all right. So it's not going very well. And we haven't even started flying yet. But we go out, we fly our mission, and honestly, the mission went pretty well. And he even said, he was like, look, man, whenever you guys went out and you flew your mission, you knew where we were going, what we were going to do, and when we got there, you knew what you were doing for the given task. I mean, you did call for fire, 9-line medevac, down fallen angel, route recon, all of that went really good. But it was the stuff that I'd mentioned previously that he really harped on. The guy was probably a cool guy if you flew with him every single day, but yeah, he was a live wire in the cockpit at the beginning. Overall, not a bad check ride, but you know, these are some things you guys are going to encounter with IPs. So yeah, another thing I want to mention. So there's a weird dynamic in Common Core too. So just like I had mentioned, this IPB Informer 160th, he's now out. He's a civilian. He's a civilian contractor, just like a lot of guys are, and a lot of the IPs are in Common Core. Some of them are civilian. Some of them are green suit or military. And you'll only find the green suit or military in the BWS phase of Common Core. But I found that there was kind of this I don't know, like weird atmosphere between the civilians and the green suiters. Like they kind of were in a pissing competition with one another all the time. And the reason I bring that up is because my assigned IP was a green suitor. He was a CW3, and a civilian checked us. So, and the reason I bring this up is because I felt it throughout my time in BWS, and whenever I was on this check ride, one of the things that he had mentioned, and he was like, you know, you guys were kind of unprepared on the mission part, but that was kind of due to your IP not coming to us civilians who have been here a little longer and asking for some for the expectation of how the check ride's going to go. And I was just, it kind of made me think a little bit like, maybe this is a little bit more than just about this event. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't the first time I'd heard something like that. So it's just something I thought I'd mention to you guys. Notice it when you guys go through. Maybe it's a little better, maybe it's the same, who knows. But there was kind of this weird, awkward relationship between the two. Well, that's it, guys. So that is BWS Phase 3. You get through this phase and you're done with Common Core, onto your advanced airframes. Hopefully you guys have been thinking about your airframes if you're at this point. So you got the UH-60 Blackhawk, which is what I fly. You got the CH-47 Chinook, cool aircraft. And then you got the Apache, the AH-64, and the C-12. If you want to go on a permanent vacation. So all of them are great airframes. All of them got really cool, unique missions. I'm a Black Hawk pilot, but I think every single airframe that you can choose is really cool. I would have been happy with anything. So hopefully you're thinking about it. Hopefully you know your mission, what mission you want to do, and the way you will select this airframe is you will rank it from what you want at your number 1, like which one you want the most, all the way down to your number 4, what you want the least. And depending on where you fall in your MOL or OML, Order of Merit list, is what you will get for selection. Aircraft selection, it's a really cool day, but it's not that big of a deal because you're not done with flight school at this point. But it is a big day because you're about to find out what you're going to get. So be thinking about that. And the next video I'm going to post is contact phase, actually ground school phase of Blackhawks. So if you're a Black Hawk pilot, stay tuned for my next video. And if you're not a Black Hawk pilot, but you're interested in just knowing more about flight school, or just interested in maybe considering the Black Hawk, stay tuned for my next video. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.